Alright, so we're gonna go up to the new property next week and we want to bring already our mobile rabbit tractors here. So they're all up and ready to receive the animals once we finally move in a couple of weeks. But before I do that, I want to pimp them a little bit because right now, as you can see here, there is nothing here on the bottom. It's all open because we had relatively even terrain here. And it was good enough to expose them to as much grass as possible without necessarily risking anyone digging in. Occasionally they would dig out, but it wasn't really a huge problem. But my new property, it's going to be significantly more uneven, and so we have to put the slats out on the floor to prevent them from digging out or anything else from digging in if there is a gap. So I still saved those from when I took them off originally, and today I'm going to put them back on. I'm also going to remove the roof to make it a little bit easier to transport them on the trailer. And this sloppy kind of solution here to protect the feet from getting wet when it rains heavily. I'm going to find a better solution. Maybe a small roof that I can, hook in just over the feeder. That takes a little bit less space and is less in the way. So let's tackle this today. But first we're going to remove all of the roofing panels, so we have easier access and we can flip it around. So first I decided I'm gonna remove all of the roofing panels on both tractors really. And the reason why we went with metal roofing panels, by the way, is because they're very good at reflecting heat and the sunlight, and that keeps the tractor a little cooler than if you were to use plastic roofing panels, which are less expensive and also lighter, so it's easier then to move the tractor. But the metal roofing panels have really paid off and I would not do plastic. So let's get all of those panels removed, put them to the side. We're going to transport them then separately. And once we're up on the new property, I'm going to screw them back in and have those tractors ready to roll for when our animals arrive in a couple of weeks. Alright, that was the last panel, and now we can flip it over, remove a couple of some wire that I had to hang the solar powered fans, remove those as well, and now we can go ahead and screw those slats back in. Most of them already had pre-drilled holes from when I took them off because they were on there originally, so that was fairly easy to just reattach them. Some of them were broken, they didn't reach the entire length, so I just decided to saw off the middle part, attach them, like 1/3 in and on the end, on both sides. That's good enough because in the middle, they're not gonna dig out from there. As you can see, there are already a couple of slats on the side, so they would have to dig 10, 20 inches. They usually don't do that, so that should be good enough. And as I screwed those slats back in, I also realized that mesh wire had come off. I think we once or twice had maybe coyotes or raccoons that tried to get in and damage some of that. Some of the nails came loose, and so, or the staples came loose, and so I decided to add some more staples to make sure this is all really buttoned up and nothing can get in and out. One thing on the mesh wire I want to mention, I use a fairly light gauge mesh wire on this tractor and even chicken wire on the other one. In retrospect, and that's what I did with the third tractor that's currently still in use, I used a much heavier gauge wire that not only makes it easier than to hang the feeder and the nipple, but it's also much sturdier, less likely to rip if someone pulls, like a predator. And so I'm gonna use a heavier gauge mesh wire going forward for sure. But with the first tractor out of the way, I'm going to install the slats on the second tractor. Now this one never had those slats, so I went ahead and pre-drilled the holes. It's very important because I'm using fairly fragile cedar slats, that's soft wood. They can splinter and break easily if you just drill or screw in screw without pre-drilling a hole. So I pre-drilled the holes before. That really made it easier and less likely for anything to break. Another thing that's super important is to get those screws in all the way. So use a screw head that's conducive to driving them all the way down into the wood so nothing sticks out, because anything that sticks out catches when you're trying to move the tractor, especially on grass and dirt, and if there are roots on the floor or whatever. That's just a pain in the butt, makes it so much more difficult. If the underside is really smooth, nothing sticking out, it's super easy to move those tractors. And so that's one thing that's important to pay attention to when you build those tractors. And now for the last thing, I'm trying to figure out what is the best way, without over-engineering it, to protect the feet from getting wet. And I just had that roofing panel screwed on the top, and it kind of hung over like a flap. It was kind of a little bit big and in the way, especially when you had to move the tractor, when you wanted to get to the feet. So I was trying to figure out something better, you know, maybe build like, you know, a triangle, and then have attached the roofing panels directly to it. But ultimately I decided not to over-engineer this and go with a very simple approach, see how it goes.
Alright, I decided I'm going to go with the easiest approach I can think of, and that is simply take one of those smaller roofing panels that we had hanging down here before, and we just attach them here, because the regular roof is going to have a little bit of an overhang, so there's not going to be any water coming in here. And then by attaching it here, it just drapes over the feeder, should keep it protected. It might flap a little bit in the wind. What we might be able to do is use like a hook or something that we can attach here. If that happens, I don't think it's going to be a concern, honestly. The only downside of this approach still is that you have to lift it up to get to the feeder, which might turn out to be an inconvenience, but we'll cross the bridge when we have to. But for now, I think I'm going to do it like this. I'm not going to attach it yet, because we have to mount the stuff on the trailer at the least amount of fluffing around, the better it is.
So with that figured out, it's time to load the tractors on the trailer and get them ready for moving. There's a lot of more stuff getting on the trailer, so I just put them up there for now as they are. So they are not in the driveway, but we'll probably have to rearrange some of the stuff then tomorrow when we head out to the property. Just gonna remove those wires here that we used to pull the tractors, or the hairpins as Joel Salatin calls them. And now it's time to clean up. My least favorite part of the work.
And we should be good to go. I'm gonna clean up and call it a success. See you later.